Welcome to another episode of the Colorful Kid Podcast in chilly Chicago. This week we have Amy Lopez from FutMexNation and our Futbol Podcast. Amy, how's it going?
Good. It's also chilly in LA. You know, we had some crazy, really skin clenching 50-degree weather here. So I feel you. You know, I sympathize with you in that sense.
All right, I'm just shaking my head. I'm just shaking. It's literally 60 degrees colder where I'm at. 60.
Hey, this ocean breeze is not for nothing. All right.
No joke.
It's difficult out here.
Well,
you could have ice, but we have ocean coldness. Okay.
The pity party is over. That's kind of like when people always say, "Oh, let MLS should switch to the FIFA calendar." I'm like, dude, we would have to still take like a 6-week break because you can't play in January.
You could try. You never know unless you try.
They were supposed to play tonight in Kansas City.
They get rescheduled. It's fun. Like, there's no good way about it, right? You're either in like freezing weather or scorching hot weather. Like, there's no in between. Like, that's what's happening. Okay, that's gonna happen only in America.
Yeah, they started talking about it like again last year about maybe switching over, and I'm just like, you guys talked about doing this 10 years ago, and everyone's like, no.
It might
no
be
one's gonna go to the games. No one's
never know.
It's negative 20 today. You think I want to go to the Chicago Fire game?
I don't know. You see people over at the Bulls game, or not the Bulls. I got that wrong. Hold on. Stop. Bears. You got Bears. People were in the Bears games, and it's freezing cold. The Bills had a bunch of people. The Buffalo Bills had a bunch of people. Like,
that's Buffalo. There's nothing else to do in Buffalo.
I'm just saying, you know, there's a way that you can get people to want to go to your games. We're just not trying hard enough.
Well, that's Cuauhtemoc Blanco's suits up again for the Chicago Fire. I'm not going out there to see him and to see them play in negative 20 degrees.
Well, we gotta find ways. That's on Chicago. That's not on me.
Well, anyways, before we give you my MLS predictions, which is the Chicago Fire winning the title, JK. The Galaxy.
You know what? I shouldn't laugh about that because there were people laughing about the possibility of Galaxy winning a championship last season too. Which, I mean, I guess they were in the right to, considering how they had done the previous season. But I'm gonna stop before I have to bite my own tongue because you never know.
Anyways, Galaxy, defending champions, new season coming up, new kits, all the media press, everything's coming out. Can they repeat, or are they gonna just wash out this year, like you just predicted?
I don't think they're gonna. I did not say that. First of all,
you jinxed them. That double jinx.
I did not. I don't think they're gonna wash out because we're already kind of washed out. We have so many players on the injured list. We look like Arsenal, really.
Tottenham.
I don't know. It's a little bit difficult. I don't think it's difficult to say that we're like the core of the team is still there, relatively speaking. Like, I was just looking at it before we started recording, right? So you still have Peg, you still have Yoshida, Painsel's injured, Ricky's injured, but you have Fagundes, you have Cerrillos, you have Royce. I mean, it's just a matter of whether Royce is going to get like a ton of playing time because he did come here to win. Like, he did come here and he did, right? And he did deliver during the games that he played last season. But you do have to wonder how the rest of the players are going to fit in, right? A big one that I was like listening to during the Coachella Invitational that they just finished was like Christian Ramirez. You know, he's a good enough player. He was at LASC. Was he at Nashville? I think he was at Nashville.
Yeah, he's kind of been around the block the last couple of years. He's like a solid backup, borderline starter.
Well, that's what I mean, right? He's kind of on the cusp that when you let go of Dayon for reasons, right? I apparently didn't know about. That kind of surprised everybody. You are kind of looking at who is going to be your goal scorer. I think looking at the Coachella Invitational, you get a 1-0 loss against Chicago. Congratulations, Raul. Right? You get a 2-1 win against Minnesota, a 2-2 tie, a 1-1 draw. So there were some goals scored, but it wasn't like in the convincing manner that maybe we could have seen if, you know, Dayon was still there, if Paintel wasn't injured. Obviously, Ricky is still part of the team. So it's a little bit difficult to say it right off of the bat. I do think that the good thing about the Galaxy is they won. So any player that comes into this team is going to want to deliver the same results for the fans, for themselves, you know, have those accolades. But I don't know if the team is as complete as we would want them to be so early in the season. But this season is forever long, so we'll just have to see as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's basically 2 transfer windows before the season ends. So we have, or maybe there's 3 technically, because I think there's, for some reason, FIFA's opening up like a 2-week transfer window before the Club World Cup now for clubs in it. Not that it affects the Galaxy, but The transfer market is just all sorts of jacked up this year because of that. But yeah, like you said, it's a not. What was the final? The first week in December.
December, yeah.
So we're 10 months away from the season
you know,
ending. I mean, like
not
Ricky
to
Puig
mention
is going to be
everything.
out. Yeah.
Not to mention everything in between, because like, yeah, there could very well be somebody that comes in during summertime. There could very well be, Riggy's definitely going to come back. So who knows how that's going to shift the team at some point. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they're going to be a disappointment as far as double jigs, triple jigs, whatever's the case. I think that they are still going to be a team to look out for, a team that teams are going to want to beat, and that they themselves are going to want to perform well. But it's too early to tell. There's too many injuries. There's too many new players. They're going to have to find their flow. I mean, from what I'm getting from the preseason was that it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. But it was more okay because they are the defending champions than anything else. So we'll just see. I mean, they're facing off against San Diego at home for their first game. I'm pretty sure they're going to want to start off on the right foot. So I don't think that they're not going to win this game. Like, I do think that it's not going to be a convincing, easy win, but I do think they'll probably start the season with the victory.
It's MLS. It's like 60% of the teams make the playoffs. It's kind of like you want to be healthy by the time October comes around. That's pretty much all that really matters. You should be healthy by then, and then you'll be rolling through the playoffs.
Pretty much.
That's kind of the main thing.
What do you do? Hold on, I have a question for you. What are your expectations for Chucky? Like, what are you thinking?
I don't know, just because that squad, I don't know who's on that team. It's just kind of like, can he? I mean, like, let's just go back to Carlos Vela. Like, when he signed on that team, that roster was built to win. Like, that roster was ready to go.
Well,
but not every expansion team spends the money, and it just kind of depends what they're going to do. The LAFC owners were like, we're going to win. We need to win because the Galaxy are so entrenched there, and they didn't want to repeat of Chivas USA 2.0.
Yeah.
So they went all out. They spend money. I don't know who else is on that team from San Diego. Do I think Tricky can ball out? Yes. But
do you think he's going to want to?
Want to ball out? I don't know. Why not?
Well, like, I'm genuinely asking that. Like, that's something that's been kind of on my mind. I don't like we especially with Mexicans in MLS, we do see this level of efficacy depending on who the player is. Like, Vela, I think, enjoyed the fact that he was the star player 100%, that he seemed to be very joyful in playing.
And he loved living in LA.
He loves living in LA. I mean, he loves it so much that who knows what's going on right now with LAFC and Vela, right? But they're just kind of just keeping him there because
I still don't get why he signed in like September
and then played like 30
2 games. Yeah,
he played like nothing. But so I wonder. I mean, aside from Vela,
if Chucky wants to play in the World Cup, he has to ball out.
But does he even want to go back to the national team?
I mean, I would say yes. Even if he's the occasional national team player, that's probably at least what San Diego want. Because then you could market him as a national team player. Sponsorship. I think he wants to. I mean, otherwise he could have came to MLS instead of going to PSV that 1 season and a half.
Unless he was waiting around. I mean, San Diego wanted. I mean,
they could have signed him and put him on loan. That's what they ended up doing for 6 months. But they could have done it for longer. That's what other clubs have done.
Maybe they don't want to, I mean, obviously they're facing the Galaxy here in LA this upcoming weekend, so I'll be able to. Well, I have to get approved first, but I'm interested to see him play. But I'm also curious to see whether or not it's one of those, like, you're just gonna be, like a glorified presence basically for our team. You're in San Diego, it's the right market. People are gonna come to the games because you're here, you're Mexican. But I'm also like, I could very well see this going south, right? Like, he's just kind of here to.
I think it's kind of depends on what the team. If the team is built to like, hey, we want to win, and he's going through the motions, it's going to be like, all right, what is he doing? He's overpaid. But if the team sucks and he's scoring goals, who's going to say, oh, they're losing because of him? If he's the only good player, quote unquote, scoring goals and things like that. But I think you're right, it could go one of 2 ways. I have faith that he's going to try. And that might be a low bar, but we've all seen some of those DPs that come in MLS. I mean, I'm a Chicago Fire fan. Shaqiri signed. We were paying him $8 million a year, and he tried for the first 2-3 months. And then after that, he's like, well, I don't want to get hurt for the World Cup, because remember, the World Cup is in the winter. So he kind of took himself out of games in that fall because he didn't for him the important thing was a national team. But then the next 2 seasons before we paid him to go away, he sucked, and he was making $7 million. And I think Chuky's probably right around there, making $5-6 million. We'll find out in April when the salary thing comes out, but I don't know. It could be worse. He could be like that guy in Toronto, Insigne, who's making what, $15 million, and the team has been trying to sell him for the last 12 months.
That's true. I do objectively and subjectively speaking, I do like there are times where we see Mexican players come in and they're kind of just like like meh. I think Vela was the exception, but because he was like this star
I
player.
mean, Chicharito had that one good year when
he was at
out.
the end. But he was more of like he's at the end. Yeah, he's at the at the end of his career. COVID also took
the best comparison.
Yeah, I think there we go.
How did I mean, the Galaxy were a disaster when Gio was there. I don't think it was because of Gio, but it was kind of like the roster construction was not ideal.
No,
you guys had Gerard and Dos Santos. That didn't make any sense in the midfield.
No, I don't think it was because of Gio, but I think it goes back to that individual performance where, yes, the team, ironically enough, that was probably at the beginning of Galaxy's bad times that lasted almost a decade, right? Like, I don't think he was instrumental in the downfall, but I do think his attitude and obviously everything that came about, you were really disappointed in that level of effort that he put in, even on an individual standpoint. And I do wonder, where are we going? And as far as trends go, where is Chuky going to fall into all of this? I can see it going the Gio route, but I would hope that he wants to kind of be like Vela and, be the face and provide some type of performance to the team. But I don't know. He's obviously Chuky, his reputation precedes him, so we'll see how that works
at least he doesn't have as much baggage as Gio when Gio signed.
No, not at all, I mean,
I think there's a difference there, and Gio had that reputation since he was like 17, 18 years old. So by the time he signed with the Galaxy, he'd already been like 8-9 years in his career. Whereas Lozano, he's balled out in Europe. He's done it in Serie A, he's done it in Eredivisie. He's done it everywhere. Maybe some people didn't like that maybe people thought he should be scoring more goals, but he played well. He won the title in Italy.
That's true. Well, I think maybe that's it. Maybe that's where my own expectations come in. Like, am I expecting him to score a ton of goals? Because Vela did. Chicharito kind of did in his own way, right? Are we going to give that same level, or do we want Chuky to be a more complete player with the people around him? Like, what is our expectations for him, and is he going to like live up to them? I don't know. I'm interested to see. So we'll see.
I have high hopes. I think I'm not. A lot of people, especially on Mexican soccer, Twitter and stuff, they roast any player that goes to MLS and they immediately call it a retirement league, blah, blah, blah. But these are the same people that were saying Chicharito should have been in the national team when he was hot with the Galaxy, who wanted Vela to get called up. And it's just like, you can't have it both ways. It's just like, I don't get it. People just like to be mad about stuff.
I do think it has to do with the setting that is it. Like, we weren't having any goals scored by the national team when Chicharito was on a good streak, or even when Vela was on a good streak, that you go, hey, why not try him out? Why not bring him back or put him into the mix? Where I could see it, I think post World Cup, when people were still kind of calling for Chicharito, I was like, let it go.
Well, at that point, it's like, if he's not going to make it to the next World Cup, just take him out of the player pool. That's my mindset. That's why I get mad when like, post World Cup, we were still calling up players that I'm like, they're not going to make it to 2026. So
I mean, I'm surprised that you're saying that Chuky's going to make it to 26. He's also kind of team.
I don't know if he will, but I said if he wants to, he has to ball out. I don't think he wants
to. I don't think he wants to. Maybe it's just the internal pride above all else.
Do you want to take? Would you take Chuky right now or Antuna?
Such a dumb question. He doesn't want to play.
It is a dumb question. One player gets called to the national team and the other one doesn't.
I don't know. There's also, I'm not saying, look, what I'm about to say does not mean that I think that Antuna is a better player. So I am not making that point. There were times, though, where Chuky was kind of just being erratic on the field, that it wasn't helping anybody as far as the national team went. So that's where I'm going. Like, who would you rather? I don't know. We're stuck in a place right now. It's bad times for national team.
Is there? Well, let's kind of expand it on MLS. Is there any other Mexicans you see in a national team picture there playing in MLS? Besides, I mean, the big one for me is Obed Vargas.
Where's
I
he
don't know how
playing for?
much
I should know this.
Seattle
Who is he?
Sounders.
Oh, there we go.
The kid from Alaska. I don't know how it makes
For
sense, but
real?
yeah,
What? Why don't we need to know more about this. This is not getting talked about enough. It just says
yeah.
there's a woman that is not aware of anything happening anywhere.
But besides him, I think that's it in terms of anyone that has a chance of making the player pool from MLS. I can't think of anyone else.
Nobody
Diego
that's like
Luna, I would like him to be called up, but I think he's going to be with the U.S. Brian Gutierrez of Chicago, he's eligible, but we didn't call him up. So I don't have high hopes of FMF actually recruiting these dual nationals.
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, we're gonna get into that a little bit later, but I think when we're talking about not even marketability, but when you're talking about like attraction, like who seems more lucrative to go and represent in some capacity. I think that obvious. We've had tons of conversations about like these personal choices that dual nationals make and everything of that nature. I think you see kind of like the mess that the national team is in right now. Not figuratively, but obviously like you look at management in that capacity, you're just kind of like, I can kind of see why they're like, oh, we'd rather just go and play on the other team.
Which is fine, but everything I hear is like when they ask these players, they say, I haven't been asked or I haven't talked to anyone from FMF. And at that point, that's when I get upset. It's like, if you don't, our player pool isn't great. And you see these guys who are on the fringes of the U.S. national team and they're under 21 years old. Why don't you reach out to them? Say, hey, would you be interested? It's one thing if the player says, hey, I made my choice, USA. Okay, but if you ask him and he's like, oh, I've never talked to anyone from Mexico. Well, that kind of looks bad, I think.
It's difficult, and you wonder why, but that's a question for them rather than for me. I wish I knew the answer.
Well, I hope you know the answer to this question because it's something that I always see it. And then every time I'm watching the game, my wife will look at it, and she knows who the player is just by looking at him, and she doesn't know that much about MLS. Why does Ricky Puig wear his jersey like that?
Because he can, because he's tiny, and because it looks nice when he does it. I also tuck in my shirt. I always have when I play, so I felt represented on that level.
She was like, I was watching the game, and she's like, "Oh, Ricky Puig." She couldn't name any other player in MLS besides Messi, and she's like, "Oh, that's Ricky Puig," because she sees the little jersey tucked in. He's always tucking it in throughout the game too.
He's always tucking it in. He's always wearing an Under Armour, even when like the sun is shining bright and they have like a day in. It's just his thing. He's just doing his thing. It's what helps him build his persona.
That transfer is still weird. Like the only reason he's at MLS is kind of like because the Barcelona were like, we need you to leave because we don't want to have to pay your wages. Can you go somewhere? And then he ends up in LA, and that was like
it's so funny. Well, not like super. I mean, I say that a lot, but it's interesting because Ricky also creates a discourse around like younger play. We were just talking about like Mexican players coming in and having it be a retirement league. Like he also like removed that discourse altogether because yes, there were circumstances that arose out of that, but he did come in and has been the star for the Galaxy, and who's to say that he can't move forward with his career and go to a better club at some point in time? Like it really worked out for him and the club in a very interesting way, where it does make you wonder from a Mexican national team standpoint, do you have to have the players stay in the league? Can you not start using the MLS to some capacity for that? Possibly. Well, but then again, how many players do we have that are like?
But it's just another tool because if I'm a young player and I know I want to go to Europe, do I not go to maybe MLS? Like, hey, I can go there for a couple of years, and those clubs will sell me abroad. Whereas if I'm at Puebla, they're going to take whatever Cruz Azul or whatever the bigger clubs.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, and that goes a little bit differently than. I guess maybe a partnership from like the LigaMX Feminil or the NWSL, which also has its own parameters. But I just go, it worked out circumstantially for Ricky. And I'm just curious to see, does this become a trend or is it an outlier? Seems like an outlier, but it'd be interesting to have it be more of a consistent trend.
In terms of what young players going to MLS?
Yeah, and just trying to flourish in that capacity. Like,
I
especially
think
if
it's a trend. It's definitely a trend because, as you can see from the outbound transfers. I mean, if a club spends $8 million in a player, there's just because he's an MLS, it used to be like, oh, no one's gonna buy a player for $10 million from MLS. Cucho Hernandez just got sold for $16-17 million to La Liga. So it's not like a team pays $6-7 million for you. They're not gonna sell you, or they have no chance of selling you for a profit. There's a lot of players going outbound now from MLS that maybe a few years ago they would leave on a free. Now it's like MLS is changing. They're a selling league, which is something that LigaMX is not. They're not making their money on transfers abroad. They're making their money on everything else. So it's a different structure, and that MLS is kind of. I mean, you follow the league. You've heard what all the crap Don Garber said over the last 10, 12 years. I remember 10, 12 years ago, he would never say, oh, we're a selling league. Now he's embraced it. Now clubs are making money on that. I mean, like Chicago Fire, we bought John Duran for $1.5 million from Colombia when he was 17 years old. We didn't even try to scout him. We were trying to scout his teammate. We just saw him and we signed him.
well, it's it's like
$30 million off of him.
I mean, it's like Peck. You know, you're keeping Peck probably for like another season, but you have this expectation that Peck is probably going to leave the Galaxy at some point, just because
And if you sell him for a profit, you get those profits, and you find the next Ricky Pooch or someone else.
Ricky's probably going to. Well, he's obviously injured, so he's probably going to have to be there for another calendar year, which means like another season and a half.
I mean, he's 25.
Yeah,
He doesn't turn 26 till like September or August. Yeah. That's crazy to me. He was 22 when he left Barcelona, went straight from Barcelona to the Galaxy. It's not like he went from Barcelona to some other club, a Turkish club, and then came to MLS. He came straight from Barcelona to MLS, and the Galaxy didn't have to pay a transfer fee for him because Barcelona were like, we just want the wages off our books.
I mean, Barca was down so bad. They were like, Messi, you got to go, bro. Like, I'm so sorry.
One of my favorite memes on Twitter is just like everyone talking about, what lever is Barcelona going to pull next? What economic lever are they going to pull? Speaking of economic levers, MLS kits. Have you had a chance to go through?
I did. Thank you so much for providing me with the cliff notes of how to reach out to these. I'm going to be biased. But I'm going to be biased in a research led way. I am going to say that Galaxy's secondary kit is the best one. Like, and it's funny because I thought that it was ugly, like not ugly. I'm still gonna buy it regardless, right? But when I saw it come out in photos, I was like, I don't know if I love this. Then I had time. I went to the mall. I was perusing around different stores, and I saw it at the Adidas store, and I was like, you know what? This is a beautiful kit.
There's very few kits where you see the photo, and then you see it in person, and you're like, oh, this is exactly what I thought it is. It's like there's a big difference from in person to photos. I just think the way photographs are done of these, it's just like it doesn't do a lot of these kits justice, especially the ones with like where the details on them are really small. Like the Fire one, when I saw it, it's not a great kit, but like I saw it, I was like, oh, it looks kind of boring. But then like I saw up close, like touch it, I feel it, and I was like, okay, it's not bad. It's not within the confines of Adidas's crappy templates that they use on every jersey, other than like 3 national teams and like 4 club teams. It's okay, but like. You need and then another thing, authentic kits are different than the replica kits.
Yes, they are.
So a lot of people don't realize that. So when these teams,
Raul gets paid now. Look at that. You hear him? He's not like the rest of us guys. You know, he's like, authentic kits. Like,
I don't get the authentic kits. They're too small, bro. Like, they're like body shaming me. Like I can't go to the register and ask for like a fax because it's so tiny.
And you're not a Chivas fan. Come on, they're not that bad. Like,
well. Santiago Jimenez, he's on Puma now.
Only Chivas jerseys properly body shame you. Like those ones don't care.
Looks like a freaking salchicha. It's just bad. It's just don't. Well, like the only ones I like are like Adidas, Nike. Like their sizing is consistent.
Yeah,
but like I don't know if I'm sure you've come across like the actual ones that players wear, like the Tech Fit ones.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, they're so tiny. They're so thin and like, but anyways, I've got off track here. The authentic kits have all like the bells and whistles, like all the little tags and everything. And then you get the replicas which is what everyone buys, and they're not the same.
Well,
And a
they
lot
try.
of times people don't realize that until they buy it, and they're like, "Oh, why doesn't mine have this?" And it's like, "Well, you didn't pay for the authentic one, which is $80 more." But
But
yes,
anyway,
I like
I,
it.
I put that in my notes. I said Chicago's. I don't hate it. I like the little Carvana. It looks a little cute. You know, it's got little designs. Which other ones did I say? San Diego's jersey looks like they're They look like
Dude,
DirecTV
it's
FC.
so bad.
They
It's
look like DirecTV FC. It looks like DirecTV went down to San Diego and was like, "Hey, we want to start a soccer club." Like it's genuinely bad. That brand is just way too big. That somehow looks worse than America's Home Depot bottom of the jersey logo that used to be there out like 2-3 seasons ago. Like it's not good. It's
it
not good.
looks so bad. It looks like a training kit.
It's just
The crest
boring. Like
isn't
you
bad.
want to.
The crest is
No, the
okay.
crest is cool.
I
I
don't
mean,
hate
it's
it.
okay. It's okay. You
But you
know,
had
like
3 years, man. You had 3 years to come up with something. It's not like these other MLS kits that, they have a new jersey every other year. I know these designs take a while, but you had 3 years to do something special because as an expansion team, whatever crap they put out, it's gonna sell.
True.
Whatever crap any expansion team in MLS
Well,
puts
yes and
out.
no. There's not bad blood, but there is a lot of tension between this new San Diego team and obviously what used to be the Loyal. So it's
But just
if you want-
in
yeah.
general, any expansion sports team in any league, whatever you put out your first jersey, it's gonna sell. To people, it's gonna sell a lot. That's gonna be your big item for the next couple of years. That everyone has that first jersey. This looks so bad.
It's really like I think the first one that I saw was the white one. No, it was the black one. It had to be the black one because that's the
I think
one
it's
that
navy. I think it's
what? Yeah.
yeah.
My bad. Navy, right? And then you're like, oh, this is like way too big. The DirecTV just really calls out to me, and then you see it and you white, and you're like, oh, this is somehow you made it possibly worse. Like somehow it looks objectively worse. So that sucks. I don't, even as a rival, I don't mind LAFC's collar on their jersey, on their white jersey. I think it looks really nice. I'm a big fan of collars, so I like the little collar.
Yeah,
feature
the color's
that they have.
nice. It kind of reminds me of the old Puma template they had like around 2009, 2010. If you look at old...
Wait, Arsenal had one of those, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's Arsenal.
It just looks like an old template. It's not bad.
Yeah. It's not bad. I like Seattle's and Rapids kind of looks the same, but in a different way where I didn't mind the color schemes on both of them. They look cool.
Seattle, they sell a lot of jerseys, and I've talked to and read interviews with people who do like the design work for Adidas, and it's like you have to hit a certain threshold before they give a shit. Because if you don't sell like 100,000 kits, you don't get like long sleeve versions, and you don't get like a third kit. So Seattle's been killing it with their jerseys, and they always sell so well. I see so many. Like, have you seen?
They have a really good. They have them too, I think.
Well, not even that. This isn't in their color scheme. It's just like the Jimi Hendrix kit they had like a year ago, the purple one.
Was that Seattle?
Yeah.
Was that Seattle? I feel like oh no, Nashville had the Johnny Cash one, right? The all black one.
Yeah.
There we go.
So like, and they do what you're supposed to do with the secondary kit, where it's just like, let's just do some cool shit. The colors don't matter. Just do something cool. And I don't like Seattle, but that's a nice jersey.
It always it. I know that Atlanta fans were pissed off because they're like, it's the same kit. I'm like, I mean, what are you supposed to do with the stripes? Austin, Atlanta, like you. Who else had a really bad one? Was it Montreal? Montreal also had a really bad kit. Like it looks like that one's kind of lazy. Like
I mean, on the article I'm reading on SI, they had it at number 4. But
that's I know I saw that too. I was like, what?
It's like the home kit. If it's the same as it always is, whatever. It's the home kit. You want one. You want an identity you stick with. I get it. That's fine. It's like when it's the secondary ones that are boring. It's like, dude, these are the ones you mess around with and kind of go crazy. But yeah,
people like it's like they can be different. Like and again, not to be biased, but Galaxy has the classic white, and then you have to do something with the yellow and the blue, right? And they have been like people thought this one was boring, and then I got it, and I was like, I think it actually looks nice. Like Galaxy,
I think it's harder to do that when you have stripes. Like,
well, that's what I mean.
They've always had stripes, so it's like. I don't know.
Like Atlanta fans were like objectively pissed, but I'm like, what else are you supposed to do with stripes? Austin's the same way. What else are you supposed to do with your green and black? Like, there's only so many options you have when you're a striped team. Same
That's
thing
why
with, I
like
mean, same thing with like Monterrey. Monterrey is also limited. Like, what else are you supposed to do?
yeah.
Stripes.
Well, Monterrey is. I can't complain because they don't have that many sponsors compared to other clubs, but yeah. So yeah, we talked about Seattle Galaxy. I'm not a Crew fan since that is our biggest rival, Chicago. But did you see they're calling it the Goosebumps kit?
No, yeah, I
You didn't
didn't
like it?
know. I didn't like it. It feels that's like, like teams will come out with their like limited edition, like Earth Day or, like a special occasion type of kit. I could get down with it if it was like a Halloween kit. Like if you said, hey, you know what? We're just shooting the shit this season and we came up with a fun, spooky one for
It
October.
literally says Goosebumps on the back of the jersey.
Yeah,
That's kind of, or on the bottom, on the jock tag, on the bottom left of the jersey. I'm surprised it says that.
I'm just like, like it feels like a bit, that nobody wanted to be a part of, and now your fans are gonna have to commit to it. I'm just like, I don't, because it does look. I mean, you have to see it in person, like we're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe in person, you're like, that's
I
kind of.
respect the effort. I respect the effort of let's try some shit. It's our secondary. Let's just,
It. I mean, in the photos on the sites, it looks like very like not even cartoonish. It just looks like you were messing around in whatever software you were doing, and like, what if we just made it look like liquids dripping down? But I don't know. Maybe in person, there's little details that are being missed. But I didn't like it.
And it's like
I was
we're
like,
grading these as just the jersey, like just the top. But sometimes the jersey looks better as part of the uniform, like with the shorts.
That's true. That's true.
But no one is we're not going full kit wanker. Like we're not gonna be wearing this, shorts and jerseys on the streets or anything. So
No.
you kind of have to grade it like, all right, as just a jersey. Can I wear this to the airport and feel like everyone's looking at me and funny?
I mean, that's fair. That's a good, I like that assessment. That is a good assessment. And by that definition, I would go, no, you're going to look goofy if you wear this
Yeah,
in
you're right.
public.
Maybe this is the same kit, but maybe I'm just liking it because it's Croatia vibes. But I like the Real Salt Lake secondary.
I did not like that one.
No,
I didn't. I didn't get that connection when I looked at it. Now you're kind of making me change my mind from fully hating it to not just disliking it. But it seems, I'm indifferent to it now. But when I looked at it, I went, this is really not it. But now that you said it was kind of Croatian, I'm like, okay, I kind of see that, but I'm also not fully committed to the way that it looks. It's not great for me.
So I initially went into this list thinking, oh, let me get a top 5. I got to 4. And everything else is kind of like, eh.
I think I only got 3, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, 4. I got Galaxy number 1. Seattle and the Rapids were kind of tied for second, and then Chicago's I didn't hate. Yeah, so I got 3, 4. I couldn't get a top 5 either. Everything else just looked very like, eh. We do have a worst though. We both agree that San Diego's is probably the worst.
And what makes it the worst is like they had multiple years, and they're like, we got Chucky. It's like I said, it's gonna spell no matter what. Like I'm gonna see people wearing this when Chucky comes with San Diego to Chicago.
I mean, I'll be interested to see. I will be interested. Like who knocked it out of the park? Let's see. I mean, you have to give credit to LAFC because those were everywhere once they got announced and they had a jersey and everything. Who else? Atlanta probably also had a lot of people wearing it pretty early on. Who else more recently?
It's like you almost have to discount like the newish teams. Like Atlanta, okay, Atlanta's been around for 8 years. Like, okay, I guess. But like,
well, that's what I mean. Those are
Austin, people had Austin, but that was also an expansion team a couple years ago.
But were people that crazy about the Austin jersey in the same capacity? Like maybe we're also just like, oh, the novelty of the old days. But I don't feel like there were a ton of Austin fans. Also, that was like super orchestrated. Like that was very much. They also, I think Austin also had the chip on their shoulder of like trying to be the Crew before the Crew ended up saving themselves. So
one thing, I don't follow them this closely just because I kind of don't care. But why did Miami get 2 jerseys this year? I mean, we all know why, but...
Yeah, why are you asking this question? Like, you know why.
I answered my own question. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because, just say because,
So, like, I buy a lot of jerseys, or I keep an eye on, on sales and stuff. There's so many 2024 Miami jerseys on clearance, like on Adidas.com and everything, because they made so many jerseys for
Well,
Messi. Like you could buy an authentic jersey for like $30 in on Adidas.com. Not even like some other like on Adidas.com, you could get an authentic jersey for like $30
and
Miami
if you
because they
just
made
submit
so
the
many.
code TCK 2025, you'll get an additional 15% off on your Inter Miami jersey.
Also, this might be the most bootlegged jersey in the last 5 years. I saw so many bootlegs of the Miami jersey last year.
I mean, everybody just that one. I mean, that one blew up because obviously of the Messi discourse. But that one, yeah, that one was everywhere in all capacities, in every shape, way, or form. 100%.
Also, I was a fan of their branding before Messi, and
The crown. What is it? The crowns? Is it two crowns? Or
it's a flamingos, no?
oh yeah, the flamingos. There you go.
Yeah. But not they kind of like, the last 2 years of jerseys are kind of like I don't know, they're not as creative. I don't know. I
I
like
mean,
the
they're
color
just
scheme, like the pink. They could do a lot of cool stuff with it, but
they could doesn't mean that they will. That's what I was about to say. Like I think they just went with pink color. Messi, go ahead, do it. Well, they used all their budget for Messi, so they're kind of tied.
I don't have it in front of me. But like I know New York City FC did a cool jersey like 2 years ago. Like they called it their like pigeon kit.
Oh, I know which one you're talking.
That one was cool.
That one was also it was fine for me. Like it's not in the top. It's not terrible. Like I also like New York's color scheme. I like that blue and the hint of orange that's kind of
Yeah.
hidden within it. That one's cool.
Yeah, Vancouver's okay, but just a lot of kind of meh, not bad, but
No, I do think that Galaxy's purple jersey is the coolest one. I think it's the most exciting. Like you said, if we're going by the metric of do what you can, this is where you have fun. I think Galaxy had fun with their jersey, and I enjoyed it.
I really liked their city kit last year, the flag kit, the green.
Oh yeah,
That was nice.
I have that one too. It's very nice.
I was trying to buy it today, but they only had it like small. I was like, I'm not trying to fit in that, so I decided not to. Oh, another thing that's new for the kits this year is I don't know if you saw it, but you know how like they'll have the Apple TV logo on the.
Sure. Okay.
I was gonna say, do you have it? See, it's because you don't have the authentic.
No, I don't have the other.
And we don't have authentic money.
Not everybody can be like you, Ro. All right. Some of those kids.
I'm like, is this a bootleg kit? I don't even know. It might be, but so all the MLS jerseys have this Apple TV sponsor, but this year they have every team has a special one, so it's a little different.
Really?
So it's like MLS. So ironically enough, Don Garber tweeted it out today, but he has like everyone's different. So like the Chicago one has like the Chicago flag in it.
Donnie G. Let me see what he tweeted
No,
out.
Soccer Don. Yeah, the Galaxy one's cool. It's like a blue. The heart is colored the navy, and then the middle's got like that Galaxy symbol. It's nice because the logo is kind of plain looking. So if you might have a really nice jersey, then you got this really plain ass logo on your shoulder. But the Galaxy one's nice.
I see here.
Yeah, so the Chicago one's got the Chicago star in the middle. I like it.
Galaxy is nice. It's got a cute little star on it. Where's Chicago's? Hold on, it's an alphabetical order, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Oh, that one's cute too.
Yeah, it looks nice on the new jersey. It kind of all fits together.
It really puts into perspective the aesthetic of all the teams. Like the Whitecaps actually have a cool aesthetic for their Apple.
Yeah, I like their jersey this year, the secondary one.
Yeah, it's okay.
But look at San Diego's. It's right above the Whitecaps. Tell me that is literally just a navy heart, and then they colored the outside. Like, what is that?
I mean, the scheme of the outline is actually cool. Why wouldn't they have done more with that for their jersey?
I'm glad it doesn't have DirecTV in the middle.
Well, they can't because it's a competitor.
Like the LAFC one's cool. Miami's is cool.
I was gonna say that too. LAFC's right away. It stood out to me like that one's really apparent as far as branding. Portland's is also cool. I think that's Portland. It has to be Portland. Who else is? Yeah.
Seattle's is cool.
Austin's makes no sense.
They're all in on that green. They're all in on that.
Kansas City's is cool. That one also stands out. Atlanta's is the very first one, right? Top left.
Yep.
And it's okay. There's only so much you can do with stripes.
Yeah. But if you look at, where's Montreal? Montreal still has the stripes, but they have their flower or whatever.
Yeah. I see.
They kind of switched it up.
That's cute. Oh, it's creative. Atlanta just phoned it in with the.
They're like, we're just putting this, and we're gonna color the very top of the Apple logo gold.
Stripes. Galaxy is cool. Nashville's looks funny, but it's Nashville's.
Yeah. If you had to pick one league's jerseys versus the other league, who you picking, MLS or LigaMX?
What do you mean?
Just like if you had to buy one jersey, you had to pick one an MLS jersey or LigaMX jersey.
Oh, well, I have too many MLS. I have too many Galaxy jerseys. I don't have enough LigaMX jerseys. I got to get a LigaMX jersey. But that's like completely because of my own personal experience. It's not even because they're better. Which one is designed better? So
I'm just saying, basically, do you want DirecTV on your jersey, or do you want like 7 small regional Mexico chains?
That's a different question. I absolutely do not want DirecTV. Mostly because I'm a Spectrum customer, so it's competitive.
Beef. Always beef. And
there's always beef. There's always some type
I'm surprised Comcast doesn't sponsor a Philadelphia Union. Although maybe at this point, Apple's like, no, we don't want to put our Apple logo above your Peacock or Comcast logo.
Who knows? No, I would say still LigaMX jersey. I don't mind the 1,000 of sponsors.
It adds a little something.
It adds,
everything's different. Like everything's a different font. It's just like,
hey,
is that someone's last name or is that another sponsor?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Figure it out.
And my favorite LigaMX jersey, just like a little story, is why we have Tecatito.
Why?
Do you know that story? Why he has a nickname, Tecatito?
No. Is it because of the Tecate?
Tecate was a sponsor of Monterrey, and otherwise they would have put Corona on his jersey, Jesus Corona, and they named him Tecatito, and they put that shit on there, and they wouldn't say Corona.
That's hilarious. I did not know that. I learned a new thing today.
Yeah, because it's just a weird nickname, right? Tecatito.
Well, any nickname is better than showing.
Yeah, so like I said, I watch soccer. I had it on in the background all the time, and like my wife is trying to learn Spanish, and she's like trying to pick up the stuff that they're saying in the soccer game. I'm just like, don't try to learn Spanish from watching soccer, because everything these guys are saying is probably all slang and a nickname, and I don't want to have to explain to you what this means. And like, if she asked me what La Trophies mean, I wouldn't even know how to respond to that question.
So there was a lady. Okay, she was.
And then the best of the nicknames were, she's learned this now, beating my family and everything. And there's a lot of TikTok videos about this, but we're mean. We are mean with our nicknames.
I mean, it's changing. I think us as a generation and the next one after us is very cognizant of the fact that, hey, sometimes the nicknames are about honing in on people's insecurities, and we're trying to break that. But I mean, sometimes it's just easier to say who this person is or that person is through physical appearance or something else. And so,
yeah, like I think my uncle called one of my cousins Gordito. And then one of my cousins was like, you can't be body shaming him. And I'm like, and Simon, he knows what I'm talking about.
There is, a Mexican proverb by Vale Madre.
Mexico, the national team. How are we feeling about the national? We had some good vibes with the soccer MLS kids.
We were talking good vibes. We could have segued into CONCACAF Champions Cup just for the hell of it. But now let's go.
What are the vibes?
Okay, here is where I feel we're at. And this is gonna sound like the roundtable of men that we listen to on like Futbol Podcast, but you have to care about these next 2 tournaments, don't you? Like what else are you you don't need to qualify. So what other?
Define care. Do I care if we win? No, because
why? You're part of the problem.
No. I would rather not win a tournament if it meant we're developing a player.
Well,
did we need to win the 2023 Gold Cup? No.
I think you kind of had to. You were in a.
Here's why. Everyone else
after 22, you had to.
No, and here's why. You know that generational change we did in 2024 Copa America? What if we did that in 2023 and the players that showed up in 2024 were like, oh, we have experience playing for the national team for the last 12 months.
Well, we are where we are now. I mean, there's so many, right? There's the domino that leads the big domino, the small domino that leads to the big domino. I would say that you needed to win the Gold Cup in 23. I would even argue that maybe you could have done that even starting to create that generational shift. You probably could have still done it. You could have.
You probably still could have won it with the B team.
Well, that's what I'm
based
saying.
on youngsters.
I think you could have. I think you could have done that. So to add, like, I do think you needed to win it. You probably could have started that generational change at that point.
Like, did you need to play? Like, you could have not. If they started 2023, we're like, all right, we're not going to play anyone over the age of 30 this year. Let's see who we have, because the we didn't qualify for the Olympics, so we had a U23 squad that wasn't playing for anything for 18 months. Could we have incorporated them more into the national team? That's what I would have done.
Well,
because
I think
that's what USA did. That's what Canada did. They literally just sent U23 squads and were like, hey, play.
But they also didn't have a chip on their shoulder of expectations to a certain degree when they were going into 23 for the Gold Cup, right? Like there was this like sense of like pride and let's go ahead and do it, but it wasn't like the competition was up to the highest standard where you went, oh, okay, this feels like a very earned victory. I mean, it was still earned in some capacity, but it wasn't.
I mean, we played against U23 squads from the United States, and all I'm saying is I didn't need to win that.
Well, you were also under a different, you were starting in leadership. You're starting the Lozano train, like the Jimmy Lamborghini. There were so many.
This is the problem with Mexico. It's always short-sighted. Like, oh, we need to win this. We need to win that.
Well, that's where I feel that we are once again at coming into 25. These friendlies that we did, right, where we went down to
South America, Brazil, and Argentina.
Is that beneficial? Yes. Are we going to do something with that now going into these matches, right? Like, are you going to provide that same type of experience that you gave to those youngsters going into these tournaments? Or are you going to, is that generational shift going to happen? Like, are we going to actually do it? And I do think that there is a place where you do that and you win these tournaments. Like, I think the team and Vasco should expect that from themselves. Like, okay, go into these tournaments, win them, because what else are you playing for at this point? And also start bringing in those players that you're going to want to see next year at the World Cup, these younger players. Because you should. Like, what is stopping you from doing that? What else is going to happen? Like, I agree with you. I don't think I would mind if you bring in youngsters, you see how they work for the Nations League. And if you lose that, okay, well, you lost it, but there's some positive that comes out of it. And then maybe prepare yourself for Gold Cup, still bringing, finding the structure between the veterans and the younger ones with high potential, and then make it to the final of the Gold Cup, maybe even possibly win it now that you guys have all the experience. But if you don't do that, then what was this all for?
Yeah. My biggest fear is that when you lose in the semi or in the final to the USA, and then we feel like we need to win the Gold Cup.
Where are we at with that? Like, it's like we were just talking about this. We're kind of older now, right? Rivalries still matter. Yes, I think that's understandable. But it does matter, but how much do they matter? Like, do we give losing to the U.S. that much significance? Which sucks because, U.S. people love to feel like, ooh, isn't it fun to hear Mexico fans panic about where their national team is? But what is the long-term goal of this? What is the long-term, like, where are we at as far as how much priority do we give to this rivalry? Because, yes, it sells and people care about it. Obviously, I'm not going to say I don't care about it, but even looking at it from like a long-term goal, are you going to give it that much priority? Maybe it goes into what I'm saying, right? Like, the priority level is where all of it exists as importance. Keep giving minutes to your younger players. Make sure the veterans that you have, there are veterans that are going to be beneficial for those younger players, and make sure that you are the best team in CONCACAF. But is all that realistic? Or do you have to hit one over the other?
I think you can do both. Do I trust them to do both? But the only good thing is Vasco's old, and he doesn't really care in terms of, like, he's not like, I need to make sure I have a good relationship. Like, he's just like, I'm trying to get this team ready for the World Cup. And if he has the confidence that he's not going to get fired, I hope he does everything with the mindset of, Every decision I make for the next 18 months, 12 months, has to be with the goal of being ready for 2026. If that's,
Well, how much did they beat the U.S. in that friendly, right? What was the score for that game?
Which friendly?
The one that they faced the U.S. last year, right?
I don't even remember.
It had to be, yeah, because I remember like it was a game that didn't matter, but it also kind of mattered because it was,
yeah. If we won, I forget what it was, but yeah.
Might have been like 2-1.
Yeah, but yeah. It was
No, but
2-0. It was 2-0.
It was
in
2-0,
October.
yeah, because of those, because of those last. I'm saying that more in the realm of the rivalry, right? That was under goal, so I think he kind of cared enough to tell the players like, hey, you know that you probably should win this game. Like, let's put some effort into it. It's the rival, but I think he was also cognizant of the fact that I have bigger fish to fry in the long term of it.
Yeah, but wasn't like the people were pissed off because what's his face, Pochettino didn't really play his, like, I think Pulisic went home or he went to back Italy. I mean, they were starting Sargent, Aronson, Tillman, like they weren't starting their, and I hate to say this, they weren't starting their A team. So it was a win, but did it feel, I mean, it felt good just to beat them because we lost so many in a row. I'm not going to take away from that, but.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. It's a little bit complicated right now. And then you get into the whole realm, like, right? Like it's not an elephant in the room, right? Somebody like Santi who's doing well, you know, we're recording this on Tuesday, literally just signed with AC Milan, is obviously delivering in a way that he was finding where it's like, okay, he can translate these skills over to his club teams, club to club. Why is this not happening in the national team, right? And there's so many dynamics that go into that. But then you run into the situation like, all right, so are you gonna play him? Are you gonna start it? Like, who deserves to be called to what realm? It's not a mess, but it is a problem that I'm glad I don't have to solve.
Well, kind of following up on that, would you start Raul and Santi? I know there's been a lot of buzz of starting both, having Raul sit back in that 9.5 role, number 10.
It goes back to where are we going to, it's not even a risk. Like, do you want to try out that experiment and see how it goes? Like, I would say yes, probably.
I mean, it's a very simple question. Do you think Raul can make it to the World Cup? Do you think he could be a contributing member of the team next summer?
How old is Raul? Raul is what?
34?
Is he really that older?
We are old.
We are old, but I was like, is he really that old already?
He is 33 years old.
Okay, so he's going to be 34.
He turns 34 in May.
Okay,
so he'll be 35 at the World Cup.
Well, that's
not super old in terms of a target striker.
Then are you going to, as Vasco, are you going to make Raul feel like he's going to be a starter for your team? Or are you going to say, hey, you have experience with this national team that is beneficial for upcoming players, and we're going to need you as a super sub, possibly? I would say yes. If you're going to bring Raul in, understanding that he's going to be an asset for you in the World Cup, make sure you understand what kind of asset he's going to be. So in that situation, yes, I do think that you bring them both in with that.
Also,
mindset.
Another benefit of playing those two players is that if you change your system, once Raul ages out, or maybe he's like not the starter, he's a super sub, you can play Quinones in that role as like the guy who sits behind, plays more centrally. Because right now he's playing on the wing every time he plays for Mexico, and he just wants to cut in every single time. You might as well just start him off there, and that's who's having success. I know it's the Saudi league, and not like I watch very much of it, but he's balling right now.
I mean, he has the confidence plus experience. You should probably put him in as an option too. The problem is now, who are you? Well, not the problem, but we go back to our original point. As far as youngsters go, who do you start integrating into the system?
Well, first you got to decide your system. Are you going to stick with the 4-3-3? Because it hasn't been working for the last. We don't have the wingers. We don't have the number 10. That's why I'm saying if you play with the two strikers, you switch up your formation. Then once you settle on a formation, then it's like, all right, who can we incorporate?
You know, it's funny. I don't know why I was bearing the lead, but I agree. I think if you're going to you need to win these tournaments. You also need to decide now what the next year is going to look like, right? What the next year and a half is going to look like. Not throw everything out the window, but just admit that, yeah, you probably need to start formalizing a system that you haven't existed under. But
And you have to be
that's okay.
flexible. It has
But
to be
that's okay.
flexible.
Yeah. Because if not, then
Tata,
you're gonna be Tata, and your system just goes right out the window.
Tata's biggest thing is he had one system, and once Raul cracked his skull open, he did not change the system.
And said, no, we can do it.
Up until the Argentina game where he mysteriously benched Edson Alvarez, and I will never know why, and conspiracy theory, whatever. But that was his problem, though.
He also decides to play Funes Mori.
Not even that. Not even that. He decides to bring Funes Mori instead of who? Santiago Jimenez. And then he plays Funes Mori 2 minutes in the World Cup.
I agree. It's funny. I had it in my notes too, where I go, I think you just have to wipe the slate clean. Which you kind of did, because you agreed to these friendlies at the beginning of the year, and you brought on all these young players, not for nothing. I think that's where is this all not for nothing, or are we going to go back to just let's work with what we have because they have the experience that we need them to have, or are you just gonna be flat out experimental, but in a way that could be much more rewarding than if you just stick to an old system that you're used to?
I think you start Raul and Santi right now. See what happens. Maybe if it's terrible, and then you can say, hey,
because you're not facing the U.S. to start off. Who are you? You're facing
Canada.
You're playing Canada. So
yeah. in LA.
In LA.
So it's a home game, which 99% of every game Mexico plays is a home game. So I think you try it, and then
they're confident enough that you should feel. I mean, they're confident enough where you should feel like they're going to deliver. You just do run into a situation with Santi where I hope that they've been reflecting on what hasn't been working for him with the national team. Because
who's been the system is, we haven't been scoring goals, period. I mean, who's been the playmaker?
We racked up, in order to get into this next phase for Nations League, we did rack up four. You did manage to score enough goals to get to this next phase of Nations League.
It was brutal, though. Don't tell me you weren't. Don't tell me you were confident.
I mean, you hoped it was gonna happen, but after the first leg, you're like, here we go again, right? But it didn't happen.
You're right. We did score multiple goals, which is, I guess, surprising.
It was surprising because you were like, how can they do that? You weren't fully confident in their
2-0 to Honduras. Let's just not forget that. We lost.
But then you scored 4 goals.
Still, like,
it was in a way match. CONCACAF away is tough, even if sometimes Mexico rises above it, but sometimes they don't. It's not uncommon for teams that travel away to not get a result that they want. And it
was an experienced side too. The only, I would say, young players we played that day, Chino Huerta,
young.
That's it. I mean, he was 23. I mean, youngish.
Yeah, we always are on the cusp of youngish.
And I guess Israel Reyes was maybe 23 at the time. So it's like, it's not like we played a bunch of kids up there. We played guys that should have been experienced, but it just did not work. I remember watching that game, just being so frustrated.
We're talking about young, and Lira and World Calva are what, 24, 23? They were like
23, yeah.
They're like 23-ish.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Mora's 16. That kid, 16 years old.
Where's he at?
From Cholos? He needs to get called up. I don't care if we're gonna play him.
Well, that's right. So are we gonna commit to that? Are we gonna be like, hey, you know what? If we're talking about momentum / like, there's momentum plus experience, which is understandable. You're going to have to do that. And then there's momentum and future plans. And we have, Mexico has not done a very good job of integrating the two as swiftly as they should be. Now's the time. You literally have nothing to lose. You already qualified for the World Cup. You've spent enough time. You spent enough time with the leadership you thought was going to work after 22. It didn't quite work out because there were so many, right? You did. Whether it was right or wrong, it was like you did now come into a Gold Cup and go, we need to win this. Like, you did. You felt like you had to win it. You did, but you didn't do any generational shift, and it came back to bite you for all of 24. And so now you're here. Let's just throw caution to the wind and just try it out.
And how much further did USA get than us in Copa America?
Well, they didn't. Wait, that's a trick question, right? My
know,
brain. I was like, wait, no, I know this answer.
So for all the all
But
the talk of they're doing well, it's like it's a crapshoot. These tournaments are a crapshoot no matter what happens.
Also, it's like that's what I mean. Like, yes, you do have to find comparisons to your competition, your confederation rivals. But is that really the most important thing that you have to do? I mean, I guess you kind of do for the sake of the World Cup because all three of you are hosting. So yes, there is going to be that. There's going to be that at the back of your mind, right? Are we going to be the best performing CONCACAF host of this World Cup? You also have to figure out, like, you have to look at it less about that and more like you're a host and you need to show the pride that so many of us.
And Mexico is opening the tournament. They're 1A.
Yep.
How crazy do you think it's going to be to get tickets to that game?
I don't even want to think about it. It's already been hard. It's already felt difficult.
Should I start saving money up now? Is that what you're saying?
You should have started saving up money like a year ago, my friend.
You know what? I'll watch it in HD. That's good enough. That's good enough for me.
At that point, they'll probably have some like virtual goggles. Yeah. Like you could feel like
cheaper. Yeah, it might for me to buy the Apple VR headset and just watch it then.
Feel like you're in Estadio Azteca. If they get it done in time. I'm just kidding. They'll have it done.
That's another thing. I'm not really confident about that either. I see photos of progress, and I'm like, dude, this thing's like 15 months away. Where are we with this?
So I don't know. I mean, I think you have to look at the youngsters getting experience at the beginning of the year and run with that, and then see who. I mean, you obviously have to. It's not like obvious, but it's like you have Edson. You have who's the goal? Who's Malagon?
Malagon, yeah.
Malagon. So put it all together. And, concoct a nation. I mean, if you're going to look at priority level, right, where I go, you should probably win both tournaments. Maybe you leave Nations League as your experimental phase and then look at the Gold Cup as like, this is what we definitely have to win.
I mean, either way, we're going to get 2 games. Whether we lose in the semi, we still get the 3rd place game. So it's like you get 2 games to find something that you want to build on, because the summer is it's the summer you have we're going to have multiple friendlies against European clubs.
It's your last summer. It's your last
tournament.
Summer. Yeah. It's your last summer before the big summer, so.
And I think we're going to play, the rumors, Turkey and Switzerland as Gold Cup friendlies?
Yeah, I did say that too.
Yeah, so hopefully one of them is in Chicago, and hopefully it's not the U23 squad like they pulled that bullshit last summer.
Wasn't there a Chicago match
last year? There was.
Yeah, I was in Chicago last year.
Yeah, but it was the U23 squad.
Well, there was already games, so they gotta. The only people that get multiple games every year is LA.
Oh yeah, well they got SoFi. SoFi is gonna host these.
Texas gets everything too, so it's like
Mexico has that partnership with the Cowboys. I think it's just Arlington Heights or something. Yeah, whatever.
So I don't know.
It should be fun.
They still
the countdown for the roster call up sheet.
2 weeks. Maybe? No, there's more time than that.
The game's on the 20th, March 20th.
Yeah, they have a little bit more time than that.
So they got 3-4 weeks before they announce it, because they announced it a week before.
Is there anybody that you think, I don't have an answer to the question, I'm throwing at you. Is there anybody you think that during this time, what is it, 3 weeks? No, let's give it 3 weeks. 3 weeks before the official call-up. They're on the cusp, and I would love to see them do a little bit more in order to make it 2-up.
I don't think there's any bubble players. I mean, that's not like a youngster. That's,
Well,
I wish Araujo was healthy.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's done till the summer.
You think somebody I was listening to the last, second, one of the recent pods you did, somebody like Alvarez make his way?
Yes. That is someone who needs to get called up. Is he a bubble? In my mind, he's not. In my mind, he should be called up. In my mind, he should be, but in Mexico's old school, does he have to finish his proceso? I don't know. We talked about body shaming earlier in the podcast, and that's exactly what Vasco. That's exactly what Vasco did with him, because he pretty much called him pudgy, but said he impressed him because he played in those 2 games in South America.
Yeah,
I'm okay with him getting called up. I wish he gets called up.
He did need discipline. It was you're talking about salary releases. Everybody was.
You guys got a fee for him.
That was,
I don't know. It wasn't big, but
well, I mean, it didn't make up for what he was getting paid, which
yeah,
was incredible negotiating on his end. But I do think
he's
he
burned
needed
out.
he
Shout out to my
needed
boy Juan Carlos Osorio. Shout out.
we should have
Hashtag
respected
Repasiones.
we should have appreciated you when we had the chat. I'm sorry.
I'm about to go make a TikTok right now. Play that Bad Bunny song and just have him in his writing in his clipboard.
Kneeling with his little. It wasn't even a clipboard, man. It was like the world's tiniest
Flip
notebook.
Yeah.
Tiniest notebook with like with one of those pencils that doesn't even have an eraser. That's just like,
Oh my! It's because you don't make mistakes.
there's no errors.
Everyone, I know that you got a lot of shit from the Futbol Picante crowd. Every player who talked about him speaks very highly of him and said that he had them so prepared. And there's even that, I think it might have been a podcast interview where Edson said that 2 years before he scored in the World Cup, what's his name, told him he was going to score in the World Cup off a corner and was just like, had it all planned out and everything. And they're like, I'm going to bring you in this minute and all this crap. And then you have Tata Martino, who didn't talk to Edson Alvarez for 2 days and didn't play him in the biggest game of the World Cup. I feel like one day I'm going to go on a podcast without bringing up Tata Martino, but that day is not today.
That day is not today. What was it? I think one of my favorite Tata jokes was it was like Galaxy Inter Miami. Yeah, the first game of the season last season, right? Where they're like, and Tata had just been announced as their coach, and somebody was like, "Can you give me tickets to the Galaxy game? Like, I don't want to watch the Galaxy. I just want to boot it." Tata in Chris.
He got booed in like the Mexican heavy areas that when Miami was there, like
people were not happy. People were just finally not happy with
it. It's funny because we kind of talked about it. It wasn't the result. Like if Mexico didn't make it to the 5th game or whatever, okay, that happens. But just the way we got there, it was just
very much clocking in, clocking out mentality, where you were just like, I don't think. Well, I mean, his system just wasn't. He was committed to his system, and he was like, nope, it needs to work. It needs to work. He was not flexible to adjustment. So, I think.
And it's funny. Like today, I tweeted out Asante Jimenez scored today in like the first minute in AC Milan.
Yeah,
and
it was like 40. It was less than that. It was like 40 seconds into the game.
Yeah, it was like like the third fastest goal in AC Milan history is like 40 some seconds. And I just posted it like, oh, he's killing it. Of course, one of the Twitter responses I get every single time is just like, him, Tata Martino saying that Tata Martino comment is aging like milk. Because when he said, oh, he's not ready, he's, blah, blah.
That was, that was after the, I remember that.
In October of 2022. And he's just like, nah, we're not going to call him in. We're going to bring up Funes Mori and a broken Raul Jimenez. I love Raul. He was broken.
The man was on the brink of death. Okay, the man was on the brink of death. Maybe in that moment.
I'm not criticizing him.
But people do criticize him in a way where it's like you do realize the man fractured his skull.
I'm not talking about the injury. I'm talking about he was hurt, like at Fulham. Like it was like I think it was like a foot injury or something. That's what I'm not talking about the head injury. That
I see. Oh yeah, okay. Then you're right. I got.
If you remember, he literally left.
It's true. You're right.
You got triggered.
I got triggered fast. Right. I had too many of these conversations. But no, you're right. Like, you're right.
He literally left Fulham and went to, or not Fulham. Was he with Fulham then?
No, he
was with Wolves still.
He
literally left Wolves and rehabbed in Mexico.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember this now.
So like, he brought a broken Raul, which you want to bring him, okay, but then he brought Funes Mori and played him 9. I think it was 8 minutes maybe or something, instead of Santi Jimenez, who then made him look terrible because after the roster was announced, he tore it up, and that's when he started his ascent with Feyenoord. So it looked even worse, but whatever. Let's just move on. I don't want to get upset. My blood pressure, I gotta relax. Like I said, we're old. Blood pressure, I gotta keep it down. I know you mentioned it a little bit before. There's this big rivalry, MLS, LigaMX. It's just brewing. It's funny because like fans think it's a big rivalry while execs of both leagues kind of view it as a partnership. Is that the same with the NWSL and LigaMX Feminil, or is it
not yet
different?
It's going. I think it's going to emerge. I think it's going to emerge a bit more this year. I'm predicting it's going to happen a little bit more this year, but I don't think it's. I think that NWSL is just a little bit like it's not a competition. Like the gap as far as gaps go from CONCACAF, like the gap is just still so apparent in as far as where the levels are at for NWSL and LigaMX Feminil. But I do think that the rivalry will exist just for the banter of CONCACAF. Like I do think it's gonna happen a little bit more this year than it has in recent times, or at all, because there's never been really any inter-league competitions up until this year.
And who's one and who's two? Is that NWSL above
Yeah.
Liga MX?
Oh yeah, like
You think so?
It's because it's not.
I don't follow the leagues closely. I just know that Tigres, Club America, those women's teams are huge.
Tigres and America qualified to the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal and finals. So by definition, they are the two best teams. I think I honestly, and this is not biased. Like I do think America fandom does very well supporting the women's and the men's team, even with friendlies in the U.S. Like they are always there. Like they are very much committed to it at all times. So I think and they're going to play in May. So I do think that you'll see who is the better team. They face off against, who is it, Gotham and in Portland? Maybe I forgot the other team. I'm messing this up. But yeah, I do think that the competition rivalry favors the NWSL a little bit more right now, as far as team for team, players for players. Because even the Summer Cup that they put together, no LigaMX Feminil team qualified to advance to the next round. It was all NWSL teams. So they are in better shape than most LigaMX Feminil teams. You are going to see like those top three teams though. Tigres, America, Rayadas are probably always going to kind of exist within being better or potentially being better than like the top NWSL teams.
So is it like in Spain? Like you got the high end of Spain historically, you got the Real Madrid, Barcelona can go against everyone, and then EPL's got like 12 teams that are good. You know, like that.
Yeah, basically. But it's also, I mean, it's not really an excuse. It's literally just fact. The NWSL development is much older than like LigaMX Feminil. You know, like those players have only recently in the last couple years been able to finally play consistent matches on a weekly basis. NWSL, you have collegiate, right? You have the system. I mean, the system here in the U.S. has been very favorable to girls and women that play soccer in a much better way than in other capacities. That's because of like Title IX and everything. So I think the LigaMX Feminil is probably getting to a better place. They're also getting more foreigners, right? They're also bringing in dual nationals that can also play with the clubs. So it's a lot. The gap is going to be a little bit faster as far as closing than maybe like the whole MLS LigaMX discourse, but it's still very much NWSL is better than LigaMX Feminil, I think, for at least maybe like 2 more years, for sure.
It's funny that the same reason that, like you're saying, NWSL and U.S. women's soccer is so far ahead of most countries is because of college soccer. And then there was a long time where everyone thought that U.S. men's team was being hurt by the fact of college soccer.
Well, you know what's funny is, funny enough, right? You've seen it probably in the last like 4 years or so, but Europe finally realized, our soccer culture can translate over to women's teams. And so they are light years ahead. And you're going to start seeing that that's where it gets interesting, because Mexico is where we're at. And I think it's going to get better, much better than it has been recently, because they didn't qualify for the World Cup. But I'm going to be interested to see how the U.S. women's soccer system responds to.
Man, I don't know if you saw Denver's paying $110 million.
I mean, the franchise
fee for NWSL. Yeah. That is insane to me.
Hey, women's soccer, women's sports.
The Utah Royals paid like $2-3 million 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Now you're charging 110. So it reminds me of MLS, where they're just going to keep adding teams for the next, as long as they can keep getting 9-figure franchise fees, they're going to be adding teams. That's crazy to me. $110 million for an NWSL team. Yeah,
But it really interests me that European clubs, or like European culture, was like, oh, that's right, our girls and women love soccer to the same degree and have been playing this entire time. Let's just throw them into this academy system that we've had with our youth boys and men. And sure enough, oh my God, Spain, you're super good. What a surprise.
Well, then you got the Arsenal women tearing it up.
Arsenal women.
Winning
you got
titles, bringing
England's
titles to
national
Arsenal.
team.
That's nice.
England's national team winning the Euros, like it's, yeah.
I love watching the Euros, the women's Euros. It was crazy, that tournament. Like the fans, I think they sold out like every game pretty much. The atmosphere felt very. If you would have taken the women off the field, if you told me that was a men's Euro, I would have believed you.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, that's what I mean, right? Like, I do think that sexism was just a huge component into why the European national teams wasn't at the level that they needed to exist at. And, the U.S. had 20 years of being able to just formulate their women's soccer teams and their youth development and everything, that now that Europe is like, hey, we can do it too. It's less time because those young girls, those women have just loved the sport in the same capacity that the boys have. So they're just like, yeah, we've always liked Arsenal. We've always loved.
And it's like, you have a stadium. Why don't you fill it up for another 20, 30 games a year? More money. I thought MLS would kind of get more in tune with NWSL, where I think it's only 2-3 clubs in NWSL that have share ownership with an MLS club. You got the Thorns, Houston. Is that it?
I want to believe, yes.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because there was a time in the beginning of NWSL where a lot of people thought there was going to be more linkage together, where kind of how Europe.
There's pros and cons to it, right? You do have this level of autonomy for your club teams, so that your ownership is not. I mean, we've kind of seen the negatives of that for like the LigaMX Feminil teams, for some trade components that have happened. Like, I don't know the actual inside details, but like Rebecca Bernal, she's leaving to the NWSL, right? She played for Rayadas. There was some type of like barrier because they were trying to deal with the negotiations with Sergio Ramos at the same time. So like there are pros and cons to having autonomy of not having a men's adjacent team or having them be together in the same institution.
So and then the nice thing about sharing the institution, you don't have to build your own soccer specific stadium. I know like the Red Stars are playing in the old Chicago Fire Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And before they played at like a local college. Have you seen the Sporting Kansas City, or not Sporting Kansas City, the Kansas City Current Stadium? It looks cool. It's like a women's specific one.
Yeah, but that one, the fandom was. I mean, they also are really good. So I feel like that one was a really good like recipe for success. Plus, you had the whole like Mahomes and I forget. I should know his wife's name because she's actually the owner and he's part of the ownership because of her. Brittany, there you go. So, like, that was also part of, the momentum, but they're actually a really good team.
Well, that's all I had. Anything else you want to... I know you got, like...
America for number 4?
Yeah, they're going to win. I believe.
You said it with so much confidence. It's so ridiculous to watch sometimes. Like, even this past game against the Caxa, and they lose, and you're like...
The lights went out for 30 minutes?
The lights went out. First half was 78 minutes.
I don't know if you were watching the broadcast, but they had that kiss cam going for like 25 minutes, right?
They just come up with stuff to do. Like, they got things that they have to do. I think they can do it too. And I'm not saying that to be cocky. I'm like, I see a pathway for number 4.
I mean, they're only in game 2, right? Because, I mean, the U23s played like the first 4 games.
You want to talk about properly integrating generational, integrating the generational talents. I think America's got it figured out. And
they pretty much got almost all the way down because they have to play a certain number of minutes for players under U23, U21. They pretty much had that because they played the U23 squad for like the first 2 games. It's bad when a team has multiple players playing with 3-digit numbers.
They making sub after sub, and it's like 249. 172. Just
I ran the game with friends and they're just like, why does that guy have 3 digits? I'm like, well, it's the registration. They're all the same registration. And it's just like, so I like agree, in Mexico, it's like, if you get 2 digits, you're good.
Do you think here's my last question before I gotta go. Do you think that there are sociopolitical ramifications to America being the best team in the league?
Well, they have más. I don't know.
All right. And on that note,
Like when I have a pod every other week. I'm with Varro talking Chivas and stuff, and in was it 18 months, Chivas or America's won 3 trophies or 3 league titles.
well,
I think Chivas have won twice in 40 years.
sounds like their problem, not ours.
My hot take: are they a big club? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Ooh, I mean, depends on how you define.
If you define a big club as someone who wins league titles, I mean, they can't even win like an Emirates Cup or something like that, you know?
Wait, didn't their youth team win something, or did they lose too?
Who the Chivas?
Yeah,
You mean their second division team or the expansion team?
I don't know. One of those. Didn't somebody
Yeah,
adjacent
think-
to Chivas? See,
yeah.
they got a title in there somewhere. I feel for them though. I feel for Chivas fans. There's
I
too
don't.
many. We have too many Chivas like colleagues that I do feel for them at this point. Or I'm just
don't.
the feminine side won like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah. There
See,
you
they
go.
got trophies.
I made this analogy and people were like, it's not that bad. It's like Chivas fans are like Chicago Bears fans. We won once 40 years ago and we're still clinging on to.
No,
Whereas
how long
Chivas
has it been since Chivas won? No, it's been 8 years.
Yeah, but they won. They won in 2017. They won in 2007, and then they won in 90s.
But they're still recent. Like they're still 2017 is still recent enough where they can expect.
Okay, so they've won 1 title in the last 36 seasons. Then,
I mean, that sure, probably.
because if you really think about it, it's not years; it's seasons. It's 2 seasons for every year. So
That's true. And
all right,
guess
that's enough
what?
of the Chivas bashing. I know everyone is tuned out at this point, but
Yeah, not everybody can. No, not everybody can win it back to back and back.
talking about real quick, last thing. Talking about jerseys, did you see? I don't think it's been confirmed. I'm not sure, but the Club America is switching from Nike to Adidas.
I feel like I saw that too, but I feel like my brain is wanting to agree
I hope
with
it
you.
doesn't. I hope it doesn't happen. I like the stuff they're putting out, and it's really nice to just go to Nike.com and I can buy Club America stuff.
Adidas has nice stuff though, and they're doing a lot of retro stuff, so I can see that being a commercial.
Whoever pumps out a Cuauhtémoc Blanco retro, I'm there.
Well, there you go. Might be Adidas.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, thanks for everybody who stuck around this time listening to the pod. Amy, where can we find you? I know you're on every social media platform.
I am. You know what? Let's get my TikTok to 5,000 if you are ever so kind. Okay, so you can follow me at Azteca Amelia with 3 A's, but that's on every platform. I still have X, but it's fine. You don't have to follow me there. But Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, the Cielo. I'll be there too.
Ooh, I like that. Cielo? I like that. Well, that's it for us. We'll have Amy on again in the future when she's not scoring goals in her pickup soccer games or league
Excuse
soccer.
me?
How many leagues are you in? How many leagues are you in?
Excuse me. It is not pickup. Okay, this is
Sorry.
organized adult leagues.
You gotta get your kid to record the highlights so you can put them on TikTok.
Oh, absolutely not. Nobody wants to see my highlights. I only have like 2 recorded highlights in the history of my playing career. And I like to watch those, but it was like a half
How old are
blurry.
they? Are they like 240p or like are they recent?
You know, they do look like that. They're only like a year and a half old, but they do look like that. Somebody on my team had a with all due respect like a Metro PCS phone, and it was like hey, I got your goal, and I was like, I can't use this, but okay, it says not
everyone
compatible.
respect the grind, because I think half the time I talk to Amy, it's just she's going to and from her soccer games
or to and from my kids' soccer games. So I try.
All right, well, thanks for listening to the pod. Leave us a like and review if you made it this far. Until next time, thanks, Amy.
Bye.